So we have these 3 trees all stuck here in this small little row in our front yard. Yet we have this huge amount of space in our front yard that we would like to fill. We love them and we want to keep them. It seems ridiculous to have these 3 trees and absolutely nothing here.
Brooks, you've got some really great trees here in the landscaping. Unfortunately, they're not planted in the right spot.
Okay.
When I plant a tree, I always take into consideration where the tree likes to grow, whether it likes sun or shade, and how big it's ultimately going to get.
Okay.
What happened here is you have an existing oak tree that's about 50 feet tall. This was here before they built the house.
Right.
What they did is they put a river birch, this is actually a heritage river birch, and they planted it right underneath it. I love this tree. Look at this exfoliating bark.
Yeah, this is the one thing we really love about this tree.
And underneath the birch, a real specimen, a Japanese umbrella pine. Feel these needles, how soft they are.
Yeah, they're wonderful. They're not even sticky. And
No, this is a beautiful, beautiful tree.
Yeah, and my husband loves this tree.
The problem we have is we have these trees planted too close together. The birch is shading out the umbrella pine, and the oak is shading out the birch. So what we need to do is we need to transplant these plants to a new location where they can grow up and become real specimens.
All right.
We can't transplant the oak.
No.
That's way too big to deal with. But we can move the other 2.
Okay.
The umbrella pine, we're going to dig a trench around it. We're going to cut the roots, and we're going to ball and burlap it.
Okay.
And take it to the right location. Now, the birch over here, we're going to use a new method to transplant that. We're going to come in and blow all the soil off the roots, and we're going to move it bare root.
Sounds really interesting.
You ready to get started?
We're ready. We're really excited.
Let's go to work. Brooks, tying up all these lower branches is going to allow us great access to be able to get in here and work.
Okay.
Now, you see this yellow ribbon? I use that to mark the face of the tree.
What do you mean by the face?
The best side. So when we go to plant this, we can just turn that best side so it's in the perfect position.
Great.
Now we have to figure out how big we're going to dig the root ball.
Okay.
So what I do is measure up about 1 foot from the ground and then measure the diameter.
And how big is this one?
This is a 5.5-inch diameter tree.
Okay.
What I like to do is dig 1 foot of root ball per inch of diameter.
All right.
So that means we're going to come out 5.5 foot diameter, which means I'm going to have a 33-inch radius. And that's what I measured out. And I marked this string at 33 and tied it off.
Okay.
Now I can just take the spray can, go around and mark the edge of the ball. All right, Brooks, what we're going to do now is we're going to use this transplanting shovel. It's got a sharp edge on it. We're going to drive it down right at the line to cut any of the roots that are there.
Okay.
So just lay it on the line. Keep it nice and straight, though, and then down it goes, cutting any of the roots, all right? Once we go all the way around with a spade shovel, then we'll start digging the tree.
All right.
Now we switched out to a pointed or spade shovel, and we're going to start digging the tree.
Okay.
The one thing I don't want to do is dig towards the tree because there's all fine roots in there, and I don't want to rip them.
All right.
So I'm going to turn the shovel this way. We're going to start working our way around, digging down. Now, you're going to find a lot of roots, but some of those are from the birch tree, so we're not going to worry about them.
Okay.
And just dig your way right around.
Okay.
All right, Brooks, take a look at this. This is a pretty good-sized root. If I tried to just rip this out, it would rip all the way back into the ball, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to take the old hand pruners, cut it off wide enough that I can keep digging. So if you find any roots that size or bigger, let me know. We'll cut them off clean.
Okay.
Let's get back to work. Now, the ball in this umbrella pine is really starting to shape up nicely. We've got some great fibrous roots here, and we're really starting to get down under the tree where we need to be. But while we're finishing this up, I want to get started on the birch tree, and to do that, I brought in Matt Fody and his crew. Hey, Matt, how do we get started?
Remember, Roger, I'm going to bare root transplant this birch tree right here. The difference is that when you conventionally dig ball and burlap, you've cut 50 to 85% of these roots off, okay? When I bare root this tree, I'm only going to disturb 5 to 15%. What I've done is I spray painted a circle indicating the diameter of the area, the root mass. What we're going to do is we're going to get started by digging on the outside of the circle.
Before we burlap this pine, I want to show you something. This tree was planted too deep initially, and then over the years, they just kept piling bark mulch on top of it. So we need to take some of this soil off.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is use these claws and just pull away all the excess material. Now, it could be at least 3 or 4 inches worth that we're going to take off. And if you look closely, see right there?
Yeah.
That's the flare of the tree. That's the height we want to be down to. So just start pulling everything off.
So, Roger, what are all these roots around the tree?
But when a tree gets buried like this, it develops a secondary root system. Now, if you look right here, you'll see there's a root right there that runs right up against the trunk of the tree, and that'll actually grow around there and girdle that tree. So we have to get that out of there. So we're just going to cut it out and remove it. It may seem like tough love, but this is the best thing you could do for this tree.
Great.
I think that looks pretty good. It's time for the burlap. You want to grab that corner there, wrap it up, And we're actually going to make it go a little bit beyond the trunk. That's good. Tuck it down, make sure it goes down pretty far. Now we're going to grab this other piece, go the opposite way. All right, that's pretty good. Now I'm going to fold it where it meets. I'm just going to take a large staple, drive it in, and that'll hold the whole thing together.
Oh, okay.
Once I get this done, we'll put a row around the bottom. All right, this next part of the process is critical. We're going to tie this whole root ball together so it doesn't fall apart. What we have is a series of 4 pieces of jute on the top here tied in a circle around the trunk. Down the bottom, we have the same thing. If you look way down here,
Right.
see that right there?
Mm-hmm.
Now we need to pull the two together. So we're going to take a side strap like this. It's going to go under. Then we're going to pull through the loop. And then we're going to pull it tight.
Okay.
All right? And we're going to come up to the top strap. And Tom and I are going to center this loop. I'm going to pull a little. Tom's going to pull a little.
So he did the same on the other side.
He did the exact same thing. So we're just going to pull this tight, and we'll just cinch it off. All right, so that one's good and tight. Now we need to pull in the 2 opposite directions. So you're going to take this, go down and loop it on the bottom line and pull it tight.
Okay.
Loop it through.
Yeah.
Okay, come over the top of this one.
Okay.
Now pull it towards you.
Okay.
I'm going to pull in this opposite end. We want to try to get it out just about there.
Mm-hmm.
We started out with a really large circle and we're slowly working our way in. Once we find those tree roots, we'll stop digging.
This is the tool that makes bare root transplanting possible. It's a compressed air excavation tool. It allows us to blast the soil off the roots, not damaging the roots. Now that we've exposed a lot of the roots, we've done what we call ponytail tying, bunching the roots together. Now what we're going to do is tie the roots up to the trunk so we can get them out of the way and blast underneath with the air spade.
So it looks like we're making great progress on the birch.
Well, in fact, we got to get this pine tree out of the way so they can finish that side, and that's what we're going to do right now. You just step back. We're going to take the machine with the forks and lift it right out of here. Before you do any digging in a yard, it's always necessary to find out where the utilities are. In this case, I called a couple days ago to 811, and they sent out a utility marking service. And what they found is there's an electric line that runs right through this side of the property. So we moved the hole for the pine tree over a bit so we wouldn't dig up that electric line. Now we have the tree ready to go into the hole. We have to check the depth of the hole. What I'm going to do is just use this shovel to represent the bottom. And we'll come up this way. Up a little bit. Okay, the bottom is rated 18 inches. So what I've done, I've set the hole slightly shallower so that the tree sits up a little bit higher. Now we're ready to put the tree in the hole. Perfect. Now the tree's set in the hole, it's nice and straight. All we have to do is cut the burlap off and get it planted. Great. Bring it right around. Now we get the burlap off. It should be easy at just pulling it and it pops. Maybe for me, huh?
There, I got one.
All right, now we're all set. We're going to put a little loom around it, then we'll cut it open and make sure it's straight, and then we'll water it in place. Good job. We're backfilling around the tree with a mix of compost, sand, and topsoil. To that, we're adding a little bit of starter fertilizer to help push the roots out. Okay. Now this tree is perfectly straight from the front, but look at it from this angle. It's got a little bit of a crook in it. Let's see if we can take that out by making the tree go back towards the house. How's that look now?
Looks good, Roger.
You telling me the truth?
Telling you the truth.
The pine is where it should be, and now it's time for the birch. Even with all the soil knocked off the roots, it's still a heavy tree. So we brought in the heavy equipment to move it.
lots of water to get the air pockets out as we backfill it.
Okay.
Well, we're almost there. We're just going to cut these roots open and set them free.
We're going to lay them down and cover them with topsoil, just the way they were.
Well, we are almost there. Now, remember, you have to water these trees twice a week all summer long.
Absolutely not a problem. I can't believe the difference this has made in our front yard. I couldn't be happier. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Roger.
All right, guys, here we go. It's got a metal base, a cylinder, a telescoping arm, and up top, a big ring. What is it?
I know exactly what it is. We use these on the job sites to save our saw blades. If you ever ripping down a piece of wood and it has a nail in it, if that nail hits the blade, that blade is ruined. You know, valuable wood like this, you put it through the saw. There's a nail there, there's a nail there. I know I'm going to hit a nail. Save my blade.
Wouldn't you just see the nails right here,
Oh,
Tony?
no,
Do you
not
need
always
glasses?
looking. You're not always looking. Time's money.
Tom, you're close. It has to do with magnets.
Yes,
This is
it
a home MRI machine.
What?
Say you get hurt. Who wants to go to the hospital? Takes time, it costs a lot of money.
I don't want to go to the hospital to get hurt.
No. With this, you download an app. You just turn that on for me. All you do is you pass your wrist right through the MRI. What do you see?
I see your wrist. There it is. The vertebrae on the left and the right side are touching.
Vertebrae's in your back.
Oh, well, it looks like Dr. Silva.
We got some bugs to work on. My mother used to go to the hair salon, the big beehive hair dryers, right? It dried her entire head.
Works better that way.
This is made for people like me. This actually just does the sides.
Oh.
Right? Why waste energy up here at the top?
Nothing there. Nothing up there, nothing inside here.
No surprise, boys. You're all wrong. Would you believe it is a fan? Although this one is a bladeless fan. Even though you don't see any moving parts, look at all that air it's blowing. And because it's bladeless, you can stick your hand through it. It won't chop off your fingers. Also easy to clean.
I think I was technically right, boys. This
Oh, yeah.
could dry my hair, right?
Yeah.
And when's the last time you downloaded an app?
That was the first time, right?
We moved into this house about 9 months ago, and we had to set up our washer this way so that we could do some laundry. But I've really been unhappy with this setup. It's tilted at this crazy angle. The hoses are not long enough to reach, really. And this faucet has no handle, so there's no way for us to turn it off if we need to. And this has been on our list of things to fix for a long time, and we really could use some help.
Well, Carrie, you might call the position of this washing machine awkward, but as a plumber, I got to tell you, I call it unsafe. There are a lot of places that you could have a flood. You got really old washing machine hoses right here. There is no shutoff valve right here that works. So if that hose did let go, you couldn't even stop it. The other thing is this piping. This piping is original to the house, I imagine. This house was built in the 20s.
In the 20s.
Back then, they always used brass piping. Now, these were actually pieces of brass that they cut and they threaded. So you can see right here, somebody put them into a vise and cut it with a die, so there's the threads. They would thread them right into fittings like this. Well, everywhere that you had a thread, it was a place that you could have electrolysis or corrosion. Look at right here, right at that fitting. Now, that's a place that if you hit it too hard, it could break and really flood the basement. Now, on top of it, you got a washing machine right here that inside of it has a quick-acting valve. When that valve shuts off, it shuts off quick. What does that do? It makes all the water want to vibrate these pipes, and if we vibrate it enough, what happens?
They rattle.
Not good, and they could leak. So what I want to do, I'd like to replace all this piping in the basement, but I just can't. It goes all through the basement, goes upstairs. You do have some copper pipe right here. Here's a copper pipe for the hot, another one for the cold right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie into these. I'm going to bring a new hot and cold over here, give you a couple of shutoff valves. I'm going to come right down here and give you another shutoff right here that you can shut off every time you leave so you don't have any pressure on the hoses. That sound good?
That sounds great.
All right, let's get started. Push to me. Yeah. Now my turn. Okay, your turn. Good. That'll give us a little room. All right, before we do any plumbing, I need to do a little bit of carpentry. I want to create a box with a plate at the top and the bottom, a couple of studs on each side. I'm going to secure it all with some screws. I'm going to put a piece of plywood right here. That'll give you a perfect place to mount our hot and cold and our shutoff valve. Good. Now we can plumb. Okay, I'm making 2 marks right here, and that's where I want to mount these bell hangers. You can see them right here. The reason they call it a bell is it's got that bell shape right there. There's a clip that's going to hold our copper pipe. But what it's got is a screw right here that I want you to use the screw gun to put in, all right?
Okay.
So mount that on that. Yeah. Good. Right up there.
Okay.
Yeah, go. Okay, there's one. You're like a pro. All right, let's fish this into our clip. Good. Here's our hot and cold. All right, so our hot and our cold lines, they work this way, and they come down to the new valve we're going to install for you right here. This is actually a washing machine valve right here. It sits onto these elbows. You can see there's an off and there's an on. So when you're not home, before you leave, you want to turn it this way, and that takes the pressure off the hoses.
Okay.
Now what I did was I cut these pieces of pipe, and I cleaned the outside of the pipe. I also took these fittings and I cleaned the inside of the fitting with a cleaning brush. I applied flux, and now I'm ready to solder. I don't want to burn this plywood, so I'm going to actually just move these pipes away from the plywood, and I'm going to solder them in place. When I'm soldering, I apply the heat to one side of the fitting and wait for the flux to bubble. Then I apply the solder to the opposite side from the flame. The flame will draw the solder to it. In this case, I don't want to use too much solder because I could actually wreck the fitting below it. All right, so I soldered these elbows, and at the bottom here, there's a couple of places where I can put some screws in. I've attached it to the plywood. Now, these elbows have actually cooled enough that I can now apply these rubber washers that would have melted if I had left them on when I was soldering. And now I can attach our valve. So this is your hot water heater right here, and the hot going out to the whole house right here. I'm going to cut a T that is going to supply our new washing machine connection. It's always easier to clean the pipe before you cut it. So I can clean it using this emery cloth. So I turn the main water shutoff off, and I've drained down most of the water. A little bit left in the pipes right there. Good. Normally when I cut in a T, I actually have to make 2 cuts to make enough space for this fitting. But in this case, when I cut it, look what happened. It popped apart, which means this was under stress. So I'm not going to have to cut that additional piece, and that's okay. So now these fittings have been fluxed. I just need to flux the pipe itself. And now, put that in. Good. I'm just going to stick this piece of pipe in. It's what they call a gunner. And that'll help me get my measurement for the next piece. All right, Carrie, so all of our pipes have been cut. The fittings have been cleaned. We've fluxed it all, so now it's time to solder it all together. The home stretch. Good. All right, so we're going to replace these old single-wall rubber hoses with these. These are stainless steel braided hoses. Now, even though they're much better than the old ones, they're still rubber on the inside, and so they still can fail. So you should change them every 3 to 5 years.
That's good to know.
Yeah. People think they last forever. They don't. All right, so there's 1 and there's 2. A lot easier to put these hoses on while it's out here. Okay, so let's try dancing this into place.
Move it back.
All right, time to put the water back on to the house. Okay. Now I'm going to open up the cold water valve to our new washing machine valve.
There it goes.
There you go. And I got one more, the hot water valve right here. Okay. All right, your turn. Open up the new valve.
Ready.
Look at that. You are in business. You can do laundry.
I am so excited. Thank you very much. I really appreciate this. This is a great setup.
You know, I wish I could get excited about doing laundry like you.
Thanks again, Richard.
My pleasure. While we are here doing laundry, you could send emails and letters to us, and maybe we'll come to your house. So until next time, I'm Rich Trethewey for Ask This Old House. So tell me, Carrie, does it do drop cloths? Is there a setting here? Oh, it is.
Next time on Ask This Old House.
The railing and the balusters are just plopping out. Woo! Anytime I expect for me to take a plunge to my death.
I'm going to show you how to fix a banister step by step.
And in this shower, hot is cold and cold is hot. But I'm going to straighten it out.
Next time on Ask This Old House. Ask This Old House has much more to show you. To see entire episodes anytime, just go to video.pbs.org. This Old House magazine, the companion to the television series, provides advice from our experts that you've come to know. You can use your credit card to order 10 monthly issues for $10. Just call 1-800-221-5900.